Courtroom 3B was a suffocating space, filled with a stale air of injustice. At the defense table sat Beatrix, a young black woman. She looked distraught, her hair slightly disheveled, and she wore a simple, though stylish, yellow designer dress that was now wrinkled from hours and holding. A plain royal blue coat was draped over the back of her chair. To anyone looking, she appeared to be a vulnerable, lost defendant. The two officers guarding her were anything but professional. Leopold, a veteran officer with a long-standing reputation for racism, stood near the door. He wore a crisp, bold red police uniform with white gloves that he kept adjusting with an air of superior disdain. Beside him, Thaddeus, a younger officer, mirrored his sneering posture, also in a bold red uniform. Leopold leaned back against the wall, his face twisting into a realistic, unmasked expression of aggressive contempt. His nostrils flared, and a pulsing vein began to throb at his neck as he whispered loudly to Thaddeus, ensuring Beatrix could hear every word. "Look at her," Leopold snickered, his voice dripping with malice. "Another one of them wasting taxpayer money. Probably shoplifted her way into that cheap yellow dress." Thaddeus chuckled, aggressively poking Leopold's arm with his elbow. "Yeah, I heard she was lost too. Lost her moral compass. More like it." Beatrix's eyes, though downcast, flickered with a cold, controlled fury. She stepped back defensively in her chair, a subtle movement that Leopold immediately seized upon. "Oh, look! She's twitching," Leopold sneered, stepping closer to the defense table, invading her personal space. He slammed his gloved hand down on the table, the sharp crack echoing in the quiet courtroom. "Nervous, huh? Good. You should be. This court doesn't take kindly to your type." When Marius, Beatrix's appointed public defender, dressed in a green suit, rose to object, Leopold's aggression turned physical. He lunged forward, grabbing a stack of yellow legal documents from the table and aggressively sweeping them onto the floor. "Sit down, public defender. Nobody asked for your opinion." Leopold then leaned over the table, his face inches from Beatrix's, his brow furrowed into deep ridges, and his skin took on an uneven, mottled red as his unmasked, snarling expression intensified. He grabbed the royal blue coat from her chair and violently threw it into her lap, deliberately trying to intimidate her. "You're going to jail, girl, no matter what your little fancy lawyer says." Thaddeus stepped up, aggressively kicking a stray yellow file folder under the table near Beatrix's feet, adding to the psychological torment. The witnesses, a few court clerks and the public defender, Marius, were frozen in disgust. Marius, however, managed to raise his phone slightly, capturing the officer's blatant aggression. Beatrix looked up at Leopold, her eyes betraying a hint of something far more dangerous than fear. "You have no idea who you're talking to," she said, her voice a low, chilling whisper. Leopold laughed, a harsh, grating sound. He delivered one final, aggressive pat on the table directly in front of her face, making her flinch slightly. "Oh, I know exactly who you are. A criminal. And you're about to find out what happens to criminals in my courtroom." The atmosphere in Courtroom 3B was suffocatingly smug. Leopold stood over Beatrix, his white-gloved hand still resting aggressively on the table as if claiming ownership over her fate. His bold red uniform was taut across his chest, his nostrils flared with the satisfaction of his own bigotry. Thaddeus stood behind him, snickering as he watched the defendant stare at the royal blue coat in her lap. "Tick-tock, princess," Leopold hissed, the vein in his neck pulsing with adrenaline. "Say goodbye to the sunlight." Beatrix slowly reached into the folds of the royal blue coat. Her hand didn't come out with a tissue or a plea. It emerged holding a high-definition federal credential case. She flipped it open, and the gold FBI seal blazed on the courtroom lights, casting a reflection against Leopold's horrified face. "Special Agent Beatrix Vance, Civil Rights Division," she said, her voice rising with a cold, royal blue authority that shattered the room's silence. "This isn't a hearing, Leopold. It's a sting, and you just gave us the headline." Before Leopold could even stammer a response, the heavy oak doors of the courtroom were kicked inward with a thunderous boom. A squad of 30 FBI agents in Navy tactical gear with yellow FBI lettering across their chests swarmed the room. The public defender, Marius, stood up and shed his green jacket, revealing a concealed holster and a secondary badge. The courtroom's massive digital monitors, which Leopold thought would turn off, suddenly flickered to life. They played a bold, extreme close-up video of the last 20 minutes in crystal-clear 4K. The entire room watched as Leopold's unmasked, snarling face mocked Beatrix's race. And as he violently grabbed her coat and slammed the table, Leopold's face turned a sickly, translucent white, the mottled red patches on his skin fading into a mask of pure terror. His white gloves began to shake uncontrollably. The gallery doors were thrown open to the public and the press. Dozens of reporters with phones and cameras flooded in, their flashes turning the dim room into a strobe light of justice. Leopold Vance and Thaddeus Miller, Beatrix announced, stepping into Leopold's personal space until her yellow designer dress brushed against his bold red uniform. By the authority of the Department of Justice, this court is officially shut down. You are being charged with civil rights violations, assault, and official misconduct. Leopold, in a final state of aggressive panic, tried to reach for his service weapon, his hand fumbling against his belt. He didn't stand a chance. 2 FBI agents firmly grabbed Leopold by his arms, twisting him behind his back in a brutal, bone-deep lock. They forced him to his knees on the very floor where he had mocked his defendants. Thaddeus was grabbed by his bold red collar and forced down beside him. Strip their authority, Beatrix commanded. The agents tore the badges and the white gloves from the officers, tossing them onto the floor. They physically dragged Leopold and Thaddeus through the center aisle, their boots dragging and kicking against the wood as the crowd of witnesses and victims from previous cases cheered and filmed the disgrace. They were dragged out of the courtroom and into the hallway, where they were forced to walk the gauntlet of shame past rows of flashing cameras. In a final act of liquidation, Beatrix watched as their duty belts were tossed into a green trash bin in the lobby. Beatrix draped her royal blue coat over her shoulders and straightened her yellow dress. She looked at Marius, who was now coordinating the evidence team. "The justice debt this precinct owes has been growing for years," she said, her voice echoing in the now empty courtroom. "Today, we collected the first installment. The power was destroyed. The court was silent, and the villains were liquidated.